Hey everybody, welcome to Choosers of the Slain, episode 3. We are back. We are in some form of action, and the big update this month is the April 2019 update.
Big fat drop.
I want to say that was last week, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so lots of changes there. I feel a little vindicated personally because a few of the things we thought we would see happen in this update did happen. So not that too many people probably thought they wouldn't, but hey, you know, I'll take the wins where I can get them.
Yeah, we definitely won in the department of looking outside and describing the weather.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We are just as accurate as any weatherman who happens to be looking out a window.
Yep. So, big thing that I actually am super excited about that they did to the general rules difference is that fix to fly.
Yes, great.
Because that was one that really got they were overzealous with their correction of the fly problem. So I was happy to see them kind of own that and dial it back.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of fly, what do you think about the new aircraft keyword?
So I don't think it's going to change a whole lot.
I agree with you there.
So the size of flying bases ensures that with a slight adjustment to where flyers are placed, you can still move block things. Because if you have, like, maybe an Imperial Knight can't be move blocked as readily as like a unit of 30 boys can, you still can block it by virtue of just occupying the space it would have wanted to go. Whereas with big mobs of orcs or Tyranids, the footprint of a 30 model unit is going to make move blocking pretty easy because you can't finish your move within an inch.
Right.
Even though there's that bullet point about how you can be within an inch and it's no big deal, it also says you can't finish a move within an inch.
Right, or on the base.
Yeah, and so you've got the size of a flying base and a bunch of models that move 6 or 7 inches, and you got to move a blob of 30 of them, you're still going to be able to move block. It creates some ability for people to get past flyers. It makes them slightly less effective. Mm-hmm. But honestly, instead of parking the flyer 1 inch away, you park it 4 or 5 inches away, and you've still funneled them right where you want them.
Right. It just makes it tougher for you to stop models from moving.
Yeah,
that is control
true.
Where they move better.
That is true. And if you, if the person's really committed to getting past you, then they can.
Right.
It's just that if a flyer's like right in front of Imperial Knight, he'll be able to get past it. So if you back it up 2 or 3 inches, then he's got to advance. I mean, they have to just be dedicated to get past you.
Right. It's not as quick.
Yeah.
Not as quick of a task.
Generally speaking, it's a nice clarification.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how practical the changes it creates are going to really affect the game, I guess. That was terrible grammar, but...
Nah, I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that the last point they make there is that if when a unit's selected to move in the movement phase, the only enemy units within an inch are aircraft, they can just move normally.
Yes.
And I'm trying to figure out how that would happen.
So if it is a fly keyword having unit that can legally charge a flyer and get within the 1 inch, they can now leave combat with no penalty.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Or if the flyer charges them somehow or drops into hover mode or any other rules interactions that cause a flyer to be quote unquote in combat with another model.
Yeah.
What it's basically saying is if your opponent is an aircraft, you don't have to fall back. You can just wander off.
That's a cool ruling. I like that.
I do too, because even if I have a jump pack and I fly up and punch an airplane, if I just stand still, it's going to run away.
Right. Yeah,
so
there's no...
Yeah. So I liked that little... It's not going to affect a lot, but it was a neat bullet point.
Yeah. Agreed. So, of course, big change. Knights. Castellan.
Yeah.
what did we figure? 100 points?
Yeah, it's
what they
100
said?
points more expensive,
Yeah.
and the stratagems that are its lifeblood are less effective.
Right. Yeah.
So
the rotate ion shield's topping out at 4+ now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a double whammy in that respect. So,
Yeah. It deserved it, in my opinion.
so I agree that it needed serious adjustment. As I said in previous episodes, I don't know that I'm super happy about a giant points hike. I
That's fair.
had said before that adjusting the stratagems or its access to things, vis-a-vis command points or whatever,
Sure.
would be the best way to change it. And I'm glad that they did some of that. But I still think even at the 100 more points, it's still a amazing
Yeah,
model.
it's still good.
Effective. It's
Yeah.
just not the auto include.
Right.
What I think is going to happen is people who have relied on the Castellan to be their anti-armor so that their army can largely ignore anti-armor will continue using the Castellan because it's still an effective bucket of las cannons.
Right.
But for people who were using it as essentially an auto include because of the meta, or because it was really in their army to counter the other person's Castellan, we're either going to see it get shifted out completely, or, and this is my personal theory, it's going to get replaced by the already good, more affordable knights. I think Crusaders and Gallants, or Gallants, however you say that word, are going to see more use now because a knight still has a place in a soup list.
Yeah.
And with a 100-point price tag added to the Castellan, I think some people are going to go, I could get more random unit X if I spend my knight points on a gallant.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, you think about it, 100 points is a lot of points. Even in a 2,000-point game, that's 5% of your list.
Yeah. I mean, it's what, like 17 guardsmen or something like that?
Yeah, close. More than that. Guardsmen are, what, 4 points per model, right?
They're super cheap.
Yeah.
I haven't played a guard army in a while.
You're talking like a blob of guardsmen for sure.
Yeah, so the 100 points, if you want to keep a Castellan in an existing list, you're talking about giving up 1+ units elsewhere in your army just for your army to stay the same.
Right.
Because 100 points is no joke. So yeah, that's my take on it. I think the Castellan was a problem and it needed to be addressed. I also really am happy that they addressed the stratagem piece of it.
Yeah.
I know that there are people out there who are going to disagree with me, but when you're talking a toughness 8 model with 20+ wounds, a 3+ invulnerable save should have never happened.
Yeah.
Nothing that big and that hardy should be that defensible.
Especially with how easy it is to get command points in the game right now.
Yeah. I just think it having a 3+ invulnerable save from the beginning was an issue.
Yeah.
And so totally cool with those changes. The 100 points, I'm on the fence on, but
I'll be curious to see how that affects things.
Here is me prognosticating again. I bet in chapter approved 2019 that 100 points cools down to 60.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'll bet they're going to realize sales of Castellan stopped, and it's going to become 40 to 50 points cheaper in the next chapter approved. That's my prediction.
Sure. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how much of that is sales of Castellan stopped and or people stopped using it because that's what the general hive mind says. That's true. What the community says you should stop using it because it's not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
Or if it's going to be more of it stops for a little while, but then you start to see it again. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe I'm jaded in saying it'll be tied directly to sales.
It's very possible. But you're also probably not wrong in that sense.
So, I mean, hey, go capitalism, not complaining about that.
Yep.
But I just, like I said, last episode and the episode before it, I was hoping for the Castellan being addressed aside from points.
Right.
So I got some of what I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a point change was inevitable. I was a little surprised by how much it was.
What I would like to see, as an aside, is I would like to see a points drop on the Valiant, because no one uses it.
Right.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool unit.
So I would like to see, if the Castellan is no longer the auto include, it'd be kind of neat to see that knight on the table.
Maybe you'll see more of the Valiant now that the Castellan's not an auto include.
That's true, because now it's 100 points cheaper.
Right.
Roughly. I mean,
relatively
not exactly.
speaking.
I think it's like 90, because there was a slight price difference between the two to begin with.
Yeah.
But I do think the sweeping across the board adjustments to invuln saves, sorry, Grey Knights, probably should have happened too. Because a 2-up invuln just shouldn't exist.
No, I agree. That's that reduces interaction too much and makes the game just
absolutely
feel like you have no answer.
Yep. So yeah, that's something. As much as Grey Knights are like, hey, what else do we have going for us, or whatever,
true.
Other things should be fixed. You shouldn't have completely Superman invulnerable characters, even if it's only for one turn.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have a completely invulnerable model.
Yeah,
just because the rest of your codex sucks.
Yeah, I think we can all agree the Grey Knights need some love, but that's not an excuse for just a horribly out of place mechanic.
Yep. So I know that was a slight tangent, but just the stratagem and vulnerable changes, I liked seeing that as well.
Yeah, well, you talked a bit about the knight's place in a soup army, particularly for Imperial, since that's where we're typically seeing it.
Yeah.
Although I will say with the Australian Open, the preview for Chaos Knights again, that's always nice to see.
Yeah, an actual Chaos Knight kit with bits and different carapace pieces.
Yeah, not just
I hope
a different paint job. Yeah, that's my guess. I would be surprised if it wasn't. Doesn't seem like something they'd just hype up for no reason. Yeah. Especially with the way their community teams and their marketing teams have been kind of on top of it lately. But with the update, there were some changes to some of the soupy lists that we see outside of the night. One of the big ones I saw, being a part-time Eldar player, is the changes to how some of those psychic powers work, and that they're only affecting Asuryani units now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does to the Ynnari lists we're seeing, although I imagine the May White Dwarf does more to those lists than anything. But I think it was a necessary change. I think being able to abuse some of the warlock powers in particular when you get into some of the Drakari and Harlequin stuff, there's some interaction there that I don't think was intended, and it became too powerful.
Well, and the other thing too, I know we largely are talking in terms of competitive 40K, the dice and plastic game, but also from like a fluff standpoint, or I'm sorry, a background standpoint. The Eldari ally with each other because, Eldari before non-Eldari.
Right.
But there's such a philosophical and cultural difference between the Dark Eldar and the Asuryani Eldar.
Oh, for sure.
That seeing every single Drukari army bringing a little an MC and his entourage of extremely powerful old important people, this is a Farseer and his collection of warlocks that are all essentially the noble cast of the Asuryani Eldar, who are slumming it, hanging out with the people who caused Slanesh every friggin' army.
Makes perfect sense. Can't see why that would be considered strange at all.
Yeah, let me bend my 12,000 years of psychic training and honed skill to your psychopathic wishes because you hate psychic powers and you think that they're terrible. So let me do this for you so that you can take more slaves. Doesn't makes
so much sense.
So, and I know that's me soapboxing on the lore a little bit, but that particular soup combination, at least Imperial soup, makes sense.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true.
But all of that rant aside, mechanically speaking, Eldar psychic powers are so good.
Yeah, they are.
And Eldar ranged weaponry is some of the best in the game. And so when you combine affordable, extremely effective ranged mechanics with arguably, if not the top, the second best psychic mechanic,
Yeah.
it creates interactions, like you said, that I just don't think were intended.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially with the changes to Ynnari. I get the feeling we'll be seeing a lot less soup in terms of Eldari armies.
Yeah.
And another change to the kind of soup topic with the big change that Chaos got in terms of no more 9 Demon Prince armies.
Yeah. That was kind of a big deal.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised when that ruling first came out that they counted as different data sheets. And I think Games Workshop realized that just lets you do some strange things. Nothing against the people that were playing them that way. It flew in the face of everything else that they were trying to do with the rule of 3. And so I think it's consistent
back
now.
to the tournament fun that was the flying circus of yesteryear. For those of you who may not be aware, there used to be an incredibly popular way of playing a bajillion flying demon princes. And it was very frustrating to face, very boring.
Yeah, I mean, and they did the same thing for Astra Militarum and for Gene Stealer cults. I think they just kind of made it consistent now, where even if it's a different codex, if it shares the name, it's the same data sheet.
Well, I think also they just fine-tooth combed a lot of verbiage.
Yeah.
For instance, one of the things that got changed in the Astra Militarum FAQ is they had a relic called the Dagger of Tarsoth or Tarkoth or something like that.
Okay.
That was a way to deep strike, like the bearer and another unit in your army could deep strike, and it was originally tied to the, I think, infantry keyword. And their intention was obviously so that a officer and a unit of Imperial Guard infantry that normally can't deep strike can, or infiltrate, or whatever pet word you want to use for no man's land deployment. But because it used the infantry keyword, soup players were taking super cheap characters with that relic and then deep striking, say, Cataphren battle servitors with it because they have the infantry keyword.
Right.
So they went through and added Astra Militarum.
Yeah.
So I think they just kind of looked across the whole playing field and went, what nouns did we forget?
Sure. Yeah, I was pretty happy with the update overall. I feel like a lot of it was just kind of tightening up some of the rules and making things a little clearer, kind of closing some of the loopholes that people were using.
There's always some things that slip through the cracks.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's a fact question for Tau and one for the Eldar that I think they missed in an edit, and I really think that's what it was. I think it was like in the 800 revisions of the document, it just got missed, and somebody probably intended to. But with the change to how Overwatch is now considered as if it's the shooting phase for all rules purposes, they left a fact question in about how the Dark Reapers cannot use their ability during Overwatch because it says in the shooting phase, which inherently should trigger their other update about Overwatch, but they left that question just saying no, they can't do it, which maybe if it was intentional just to keep Dark Reapers from having a 3+ Overwatch, then magentaing that question and saying, designer's note, we know this is an exception to what we just said, but who wants Dark Reapers hitting on a 3+ in Overwatch?
They're not good enough already, right?
Yeah, just some acknowledgement that a blanket no is confusing
Yeah.
So,
that's fair.
clarification there. And then in the Tau, there was a question about how the Fireblade Cadra's extra shots work. And in clarifying the verbiage of extra shot, they give an example that implies the Fireblade Cadra's power works differently than it's written.
Yeah.
It says, like, how does the extra shot work? And then they describe extra shots at long range and extra shots at half range when his ability clearly states it only works at half range.
Right.
And reading comprehension wise, to me, yeah, it does definitely seem like they're just, here is what extra shots mean. They're not specifically talking to the Fireblade Cadra, but as much as people like to really chew on what's typically thought of as Games Workshop's unclear wording.
Boy, that was a nice way of putting that.
Yeah.
That was awfully kind of you.
I think that small oversight creates a little bit of confusion for people who are looking to abuse it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the important thing to note there is they didn't change the wording of the rule.
Absolutely.
It was just a clarification.
Yeah.
And so I think if our local Tau player ever decides to pull that on me,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell her where she can stick it. So it also helps that our local Tau player is Luke's wife. So
Yeah. Well, that means that as the usual event organizer in this area, I'm going to let her do whatever she wants.
right, yeah, that's
So-
typically how that works.
Yeah,
you know,
so I
because
guess-
she doesn't win enough as it is.
Yeah. We joke, but she's one of the scariest players. In
Yeah,
our
it's really
local meta.
terrifying. Really terrifying. Anyway, so the other thing that is nice to see codified into actual rules now is a slightly modified bolter discipline.
Yes.
I liked the rule as it was. I actually like it better now that you can't stick it on hurricane bolters that are on land raiders
Yes.
and shove that down your opponent's throat.
I'm in absolute agreement that I like it better now that it doesn't work on vehicles, but
Yeah.
I am also sad that Space Marine vehicles still suck.
Well, that honestly, as much as I hate to say this, you could have probably just stopped at Space Marines and been okay there.
Okay, I think once people really figure out how to use the new Phobos armor rules,
Sure.
combined with people getting more used to effectively employing bolter discipline, do I think Space Marines are now top tier? No. But do I think they don't suck anymore? Yeah, I don't think they suck anymore.
That's fair.
The Phobos armor stuff is straight up goofy. Just the fact that you can like push back people's alternate deployments.
Yeah.
And so I think, I'll put it this way. I think a very specific version of a Space Marine list got a lot better.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
So whether or not people are going to figure out how to run a Gilliman Vanguard or just come up with some good Vanguard Marine alternatives, I think there is now a competitive way to run Space Marines that is not just Ultramarine spam.
Yeah, which is nice to see.
Yeah, so I think that's the big thing that hit me with it is like, okay, I think Marines are. I think bolter discipline was the way to go. Give something to Marines that's not just a point drop.
Yep.
I think if we find either a point drop in some of their vehicles, like Land Raider Crusaders, or if we see perhaps a new interpretation of spirit or machine spirit, power of the machine spirit. If we see something like power of the machine spirit doesn't just allow you to move and ignore the negative for firing heavy weapons, if
Right.
it also lets you fire one weapon twice, or if there's some type of additional tweak to vehicles that have power of the machine spirit,
Yeah.
that's another little thing that will just incrementally bring Space Marines back to where they should be.
Even something like whenever it suffers a wound on a 6+, it ignores it.
Yeah.
Would be would be nice to see. It's minor, but it's there.
Yeah, just anything that that nudges those iconic Space Marine vehicles.
Yeah.
I would like to see like rhinos, like if rhinos automatically recovered a wound if there was a unit embarked on them instead of so you like if there's an extra pair of hands laying around, you can fix a rhino because it runs on rubber bands.
Right.
It's just little things. If
agreed.
drop pods were the only way in the game to deep strike on turn 1.
Yeah, I do miss that. That's for sure.
And I think that would be, I'm pie in the sky thinking here, but like, you're buying a kit that's in story supposed to be a fast way of dropping dudes into the thick of it. If that was what drop pods did, go ahead, raise their price, make, whatever. But if they had a rule on their data sheet that said this unit ignores the second turn limit and it's the only way in the game of doing it, awesome. Drop pod armies, go Space Marines.
I'd even take like a 1 or 2 command point stratagem.
Yeah.
That says, hey, use this at the beginning of your first movement phase. You can set up to half the drop pods in your army.
Yes. Yeah. And do it exactly like drop pod assault. Call it drop pod assault.
Yeah.
And say, heck, even if you had to pay 1 command point for every drop pod that is going to arrive on turn 1.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
I think that would be awesome.
I mean, you decide you want 1 dreadnought and you want 1 tactical squad, assault squad, whatever that shows up at the end of turn 1. Okay.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Make you pay out the nose for it. But little things like that would make Marines, I think, absolutely viable.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're buying the unit, you're buying the drop pod, you're spending a command point. Like, you've sunk a lot of resources in to be able to, deep strike 1 or 2 units, most likely, unless you're doing some crazy stuff. But you still have the half-point rules. You still have, all the stuff that prevents you from really abusing it. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I think it'd be interesting to see.
Even if you added a restriction that units disembarking from the drop pod cannot be placed closer than 9 inches as well. So the drop pod had to stay out 9, and then whoever gets out of it has to stay out 9 too, just so that you can't get like 4-inch charges.
Yeah, I think you'd have to do that.
To
keep it decent.
Yeah. But anyway, that is me waxing philosophic about Space Marines, but
that's fair.
I am absolutely happy that they took vehicles off, because the whole idea of bolter discipline is like, this is my rifle, there are many like it, but this one's mine.
Right.
Well, when you're pushing a button on a joystick from 20 feet away aiming with like computer monitors, that's not this is my rifle.
Right. Right, exactly.
So anyway, RIP the 4,500 Land Raider Crusaders that sold for that 1 month window, though.
Exactly. So, just quick note, I'm glad to see they kind of, I shouldn't say closed a loophole, because it wasn't a loophole. It was the way the rules were worded, but it was pretty much unfun for everybody except for whoever happened to be playing it. But the Gene Stealer Cult Psychic Power combo and the Knight Death Grip stratagem, where it's no longer if you stack the right buffs and debuffs, your opponent automatically loses that model. Yeah. It's nice to see that there's at least some tension left in those powers now. Yeah. And to some extent, we just have to accept, like, a game that runs on D6s instead of D10s has to have, like, the minimum margin in it is 1/6. Yep. And so for the people who are like, yeah, but that's a 1/6 chance that this strength 3 guy can get out. Yeah, it is. Yep. Tough. It's a game. Right. It's not fun that you can stack, 3 stratagems and 2 warlord traits and charge a gallant across the table and pick up my warlord with a relic glove and then smush him out of existence, and there's nothing I can do. Yeah, exactly. That's dumb. Exactly. Other thing that I think we probably both expected to see, and I'm guessing a lot of people did, but no, you can't take Imperial assassins and Chaos armies. That is not a thing. So I am glad they made the clarification. Yes. But I'm sad they made the clarification.
I thought it was a really cool air of mystery about the whole Cypher thing, that you could use Cypher in a Chaos army and call an Imperial assassin, because everything about Cypher is so convoluted and stupid that I actually felt Chaos assassins by virtue of Lord Cypher. I was like, you know what? Yeah, everything about that cat is dumb. Let's just do this. So from a game standpoint, absolutely agree with you. Glad they clarified it. It was dumb.
Yeah.
From a everything about Lord Cypher is funny and dumb standpoint, I'm sad to see that it went.
That's fair. That's fair. But it got cheaper to do it.
It did.
I mean, there's that.
Well,
it's down 1 command point. It was 3 before, right?
no, it was 1 in matched play, 3 in non-matched play, and
I
now
thought
it's
it was the other
2
way
in
around.
everything. So it got more expensive in matched play and cheaper in open and narrative play. So really, it just got more expensive because match play is the only game of 40K. I say
pretty
firmly
close to it.
tongue in cheek. But yeah, they just merged the two together, and it's just a flat 2.
Yeah. You're right. I misread that until I don't play assassins.
And that's fair. I do like, though, as sad as it is, because I just bought an assassin. I do like that it got more expensive, because it didn't make any sense that it was just objectively better than bringing an auxiliary support detachment.
Agreed.
The fact that you only benefited. Now, with an auxiliary support detachment, you have the -1 CP, and you have to choose ahead of time what type of assassin you have,
Right.
and you also have to commit one of your detachments if you're playing in an event that limits your number of detachments. So
Yeah.
so it made like knowing ahead of time you're bringing a Vindicare or a Calexis or whatever cheaper. Like, I'm promising to bring this assassin, so I get a discount.
Right.
Versus everybody just saving 85 points and calling it good.
Yeah.
So I like that it got more expensive, because the more versatile way of playing them should cost more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would agree with that.
But that was like 94 seconds of me explaining a super simple concept. So
Yeah,
sorry for how wordy it was.
It's fine. I'll cut it out in post.
That's
I won't
fair.
Actually,
Fix
cut
it in
out
post. Fix it in post.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we've pretty much beaten the horse of the April 2019 update to death.
That's fair. There's a ton of amazing gems that we didn't cover for people.
For sure.
Just skim all of the facts. There's just awesome stuff across the board.
Yeah, there's some weird little ones where I wasn't expecting to see things pop up where I'm like, oh, okay.
Like wobbly model syndrome.
Yeah, there's one. There's one. Yeah, I do
didn't
have
think
to say,
we need to say this.
I really like how cheeky the designers are with some of these. Like, okay, all right, we get it.
So
We get it.
I will admit that there have been times in game where, because the other guy was doing it too,
Oh yeah.
I have made a stack of dice to support the weight of the back half of a base.
Absolutely.
so that I could put 2 millimeters of the base on the side of the building.
There are many cases where, because the other guy's doing it,
Yep.
seems to be in casual play. In tournament play, like, take the high road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like, if we're squaring off at the shop and somebody's like, wobbly model, I'm like, okay.
You say so.
And this is maybe a little sportsmanship tangent, but it's a philosophy from my martial arts days. Like, when you start free sparring with somebody, your opponent sets the level of the fight.
Yeah.
So when you're free sparring, if somebody pops you hard, they just decided that's how hard we're going.
Right.
Instead of like stopping and going, whoa, that was too hard. Be like, okay,
If
all
you
right,
say
that's
so.
what we're doing right now. And so that's kind of how I approach everything competitive, is like, I'm super laid back, super having fun. And oh, you're doing that.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. It's like this is such a tangent, but it's the same thing with the whole, like, oh, I forgot to do X. It's supposed to happen at the end of my movement phase, and I just started my psychic phase. some opponents, especially in a casual game, it's like, no, just do it. Like, whatever. We're just having fun.
Yep.
Not a big deal. There's nothing on the line here other than just having fun. We're here.
Oh, absolutely.
Playing Warhammer, just hanging out. But what gets really annoying is when you're the one who goes, oh yeah, just do it. It's not a big deal. And then the same thing happens to you later in the game, and your opponent goes, no, whoa, no. It's like, oh,
that was the movement phase.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were playing this game just like casually, not actually. Yeah. This is we're not playing the same game anymore.
Yeah.
And had I known that, then I would have played it. Played it the one way.
Absolutely.
To which a lot of people will say, well, just always play it that way, and if you miss it, you miss it. But I mean, it's about having fun.
Yeah.
Honestly. In a tournament, absolutely. 100%. But it's about having fun. If you're not having fun playing the game, then why are you doing it?
So on that particular one, I tend to ride the fence, because what I'll do is if I forget something, I usually make a big deal about how I won't let myself do it, not because I'm trying to seem like a good sport or magnanimous or whatever.
Right.
I'm trying to burn into my brain how angry I am that I screwed up something simple.
Yeah.
And so I'll be like, no, that's cool. Don't let me do it. No, that was stupid of me. It's my fault. Let's go. But I'll let them go back and do stuff.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's about improving my own game. And I want to make a big deal about the fact that I screwed myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. When the other guy is like, oh no, that was your psychic phase. Once again, much like the martial arts, my internal response is, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's how we're playing. And so then I'll do things like, if they're sitting there thinking, I'll be like, so psychic phase? And if they're like, yeah, I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'll just be like, hey, are you done moving? It looks like you're done moving.
You said, oh, you forgot your deep strike on turn 3. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't go out of my way to screw people over, but I will ratchet up the snark a little bit if somebody is that kind of, if you show up to the game to have fun and they show up to the game to win because winning is fun.
Yeah.
Then I tend to get a little snarky with those people, but
yeah, no, I hear you there.
We all have our flaws, right?
Right. Right.
But yeah, wobbly model syndrome.
Yeah.
It was funny that GW had to be like, we didn't think we'd have to explain this one, but here it is.
Yep.
Which basically to me read as, okay, you Yanks.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah. If no one's aware, we do tend to play things a little differently on this side of the pond.
We do. It is definitely not a beer and peanuts game here in the States.
Not so much. Not so much. So otherwise rules updates. The only one other one from the FAQs that just deserves a call out, and I almost feel bad for a lot of Chaos players out there because I don't know how many posts I saw in groups saying, yeah, I've got my Khorne Berserkers from the Flawless Host, and that's not a thing anymore.
Nope.
So I can't say I'm surprised, but at the same time, I do feel kind of bad for the guys who went and bought Terminators and painted them up with marks of Khorne, and then went, well, I guess they're not the Purge anymore.
Well, I think that particular one, yes, there may be some players out there that legitimately either are new to the game and don't have that foresight yet just from inexperience, or are just genuinely sweet, naive little lambs. But for the most part, I think anyone that was trying to run the Purge as Slaneshi knew exactly what they were doing. Because it was an obvious oversight in the book. Agreed. Like, hey, these guys worship Nurgle. By the way, we forgot to tell you they have to have the mark of Nurgle. It was pretty obvious which ones were supposed to be which.
Saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah.
But other than that, not part of the update, but part of the May White Dwarf, from what we've seen at least. Soulburst is not nearly what it used to be.
Oh, that's a thing.
And I'm a fan, personally. I think it needed a major change.
Yeah.
The mechanic was just, it was too different from everything else in the game. and there was just no good way to balance it against other things.
Absolutely. Especially in the context of soup and the fact that Ynnari typically have been able to kind of stitch together whatever Eldar they want because of that, like, well, you joined the cult. Here's your Kool-Aid. Now you have this keyword. From a game design standpoint, and I know I'm kind of speaking in more your realm here, so you can correct my observations if you need to, but in a game that is designed not to be call and answer, it's not I move, you move, I shoot, you shoot.
Right.
Anything that changes that core mechanic is inherently unbalancing.
Yeah.
Because 40K is not designed to do things at the same time as your opponent.
Right.
And so I loved Soul Burst. I thought it was so characterful. And when they introduced it to the game, I was like, oh, this is rad. Like, I like that they're taking things in a new direction. And exactly 13 seconds later, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, there are some stratagems that let you do out of sequence stuff. Like unit deep strikes in and you spend a couple command points and you can shoot at them. But to have that be a core mechanic of your army is just...
Also, those things you're double penalized.
Right.
Because all of the stratagems that let you interrupt the normal turn order are not only cost you a command point, but they also create some type of other negative. So being able to shoot at a deep striking unit, correct me if I'm wrong, but universally gives you a -1 to hit. Every one of those interrupt stratagems is at -1 to hit.
I'm not sure on that one. Maybe.
I'm like 98% sure on that. And even the counter-offensive stratagem that allows you to attack outside of the order of initiative requires you to wait until an enemy unit has activated. So you can't even use that stratagem to just go first. At best, you can go second.
Yeah.
And so every time manipulation stratagem or ability in the game has some type of secondary cost. You pay the command points and you follow a restriction. And Soul Burst, while it does have the restriction of you can only do it once per turn originally and now only like once of each type, or like there have been...
It's just been nerfed repeatedly.
Yeah. I mean, there have been secondary conditions or costs imposed on Soul Burst over time, but inherently the ability to do it is free.
Right.
Because like, and you can't even really use the defense of, well, it requires a unit to die. Well, you were going to do that anyway.
Right.
So that's like saying drinking your coffee is part of the cost of buying the coffee. Yeah. Like, you got the coffee to drink it. Yeah. You put a unit in your army to kill the other guy's units.
Right.
That was gonna happen.
And, yeah. On the note of the out of sequence stuff, I just checked the Eldar one, or the Craft Worlds one. It doesn't have a penalty, but it is 2 command points, and the restriction is it can only be used with a Farseer.
Okay.
So I think it's just that a lot of those are either very limited or have some sort of penalty associated. Soul Burst really didn't.
Yeah, and how I described that secondary cost is the fact that you have to have a Farseer. That is a secondary cost. So even if it's not a -1 to hit, it costs you, and that one actually costs you twice what other people pay, because like Auspex scan and that kind of stuff are all 1.
Right.
So it costs you more, and then there's still a restriction.
Yeah.
And so those restrictions, I guess, is the quote-unquote secondary cost I was talking about.
I think that's fair. But yeah, I mean, now Ynnari is what? Fight first in the fight phase. Basically, Soul Burst means you're Slanesh for a turn.
Yep. Which, you know, there's a degree of beautiful irony to that. But
it makes sense. It makes sense. I kind of like it. But.
It's a fundamental change, and I could see some people being like, my whole army got changed. That's crap.
Yeah.
But the model line for Ynnari is 3 models that come in 1 kit.
Yeah.
So really, you might be an Ynnari player, but you have an Eldar army.
Yeah.
So by them taking the whole thing back to code, they didn't screw over your whole army. They screwed 3 of your models.
Yeah. And make you change your play style a bit.
Yeah. So I'm not to sound callous, but I'm less sympathetic to they changed everything.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
The Ynnari were already just a filter laid over an existing army to change its play style.
Yep.
So the fact that filter changed color doesn't bug me.
No, I agree.
And I say that as somebody who actually owns the Triumvirate of Ennead and planned at some point in time to start an Ynnari army. But so I'm not an active Ynnari player, but I was actually a little bit emotionally invested in them. So I am not just a bitter Imperial player being like, screw you, Eldar.
Right. Stupid Xenos. Well, I mean, I think that's really the big topics for the rules and some of those changes that we're seeing. So I think we should take a quick break here, and then we can kind of come back and chat about where our hobby's been in the past couple weeks and wrap things up.
Getting pretty tired. We went a while without a break this time.
We did, yeah. Sorry, everybody.
Well, there was so much to talk about.
There was.
All right, we'll be back in a second. Welcome back to Choosers of the Slain, episode 3. We're talking hobby progress. Just kind of discussing where we're at, what we got going on. I've had a good chunk of my AdMech commission that I talked about last episode has gotten delivered. It's looking amazing.
Turned out nice.
And Mitch over at Obsidian Studios is doing a great job. So I'm hoping that next episode we can actually have him come in and we can talk to him a little bit about the commission painting process. And,
be great.
Just kind of do a segment on, I think just commission painting would be a fun thing.
Yeah.
People, because both Nate and I have done that in the past, and then Mitch is actively doing it now.
Right.
So just kind of like a round table about commission painting might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And at that point we can showcase everything, because he's still got a little force of the AdMech with him.
Yeah.
Once we get it all back, we'll get some pictures taken and showcase the first Choosers Studio army.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we have going on, is those AdMech are starting to make the rounds. And then Nate's been working on his project. I'll let him talk, but then I'll come back to mine.
Been picking away at the chaos. I'm about 1,000 points into it. Figure if I get another 1,000 points, I'll hit my 2. Got, I think, 1 demon model left to paint, and then a bunch of Chaos Marine, different cultists, and I don't even remember all of it. Venom Crawler, a bunch of characters, but about 1,000 points of Marines and or Heretic Astartes, I guess. Yeah. But it's coming along nice. I've been pretty pleased with the results so far. So. Oh
yeah, I think the stuff that I've seen of it is looking pretty sharp.
Thanks.
That like pile of overlapping buffs that
you the rave.
As we lovingly refer to as the rave, is neat. So I think when the models are as colorful as our imagination,
it's not as bad now that the obliterators are almost twice as expensive. But that was a silly points value.
Everybody knew that was coming.
Yeah. But I mean, and of course the new Slaanesh stuff came out. That was exciting to see. The new Keeper, just like we talked about last time, just gorgeous model. The way it goes together is really cool to look at. I'm pretty amazed actually by some of the manufacturing technology and engineering they used in that. But I did notice on the Contorted Epitome, I believe is what it is. There's kind of a weird weird little flaw or artifact of the casting process in injection molded plastic that I've seen on a couple of them now. Mine actually has a couple cracks in it, but they're small enough that a little liquid green stuff or even paint might fill them. But
is it something that you could maybe smooth over with plastic glue to actually melt the crack and smooth it over? Or?
No.
Okay.
It's too. So I think what happened, and this is what I'm seeing in terms of plastic coloration, and I haven't seen any other ones with cracks, but they've all had the same I don't want to say mold line. There's a term for it, and I can't think of what it is, but it's when the plastic cools at slightly different rates, and so it meets in the middle of a part that's being cast. So all of the mirrors or the portals or whatever you want to call them that I've seen so far have one of those lines that's noticeable. So I think just some of the gating maybe wasn't placed quite where it needed to be, or maybe the part was a little too thick. And so it didn't fill as fast as it needed to. But for mine, because of that cooling difference, that meant that two pieces cooled at, two parts of it cooled at slightly different rates. And so you wound up with a couple minor cracks. A lot of people that I've seen just have the line there, and it's not like it's a physical line. You can just see it in the shade of the plastic. There's not a noticeable bump or anything, but I don't know, just kind of interesting to see.
It makes me wonder if their studio one is cast in the same plastic as or do you think is it a minor enough thing that once it's primed and painted it's invisible? Is that
I'm not sure about the cracks. That I will probably fill those just to be safe. The line itself would be completely unnoticeable. I was just wondering, it's just a coloration thing.
If maybe they, like their prototype ones that they make for the teaser releases and stuff, if maybe they cast them in that slightly harder colored plastic that like the Kill Team sprues and the Monopose Primaris Marines come in, that's like slightly harder.
Yeah, I don't know what their studio models are, if they're just like a higher resolution release or what. Yeah.
It made me wonder if after they get their prototypes back, or their what do you want to call them, the masters or whatever, like when they get that first print where they're like proof, that's the word I was looking for. When they get the proof back, if they give the proof to the heavy metal team to paint and then order the models,
it's quite possible.
Or so it just made me wonder if the contorted epitome that's in all of their teaser trailers has got that same problem. That's just me like
interesting to see,
going down the rabbit hole. Considering that people always spot like their studio models are like missing parts and have I just recently realized that the Tech Priest Manipulus that they have on their website has got parts broken off of it.
Well, it's just an accurate representation of what happens when you carry plastic models around.
Absolutely.
It happens.
Another thing about the new Slaanesh stuff. I thought the named keeper is just amazing, and like they teased the regular keeper. And then when the actual model came out and we could see the named one, like they are so pretty. Want to get our pronouns right for the Slaaneshi.
Right.
Those are just awesome. I will say I was confused by the sizing on a couple things, and you were laughing at me about this the other day. Like I could have swore the contorted epitome was going to be like on a flyer base. Like I was like, it seemed super big.
Yeah.
And that's probably the forced perspective of their pictures and how close their pictures were.
Yeah.
So that was just really disorienting for me to get the store's first shipment in, and the contorted epitome is like in the same box that like a Primaris Apothecary is. It was so small.
I was expecting it to be on like a Ghost Kill size base.
At least like when it was built, maybe like Redemptor Dreadnought sized or something. Like maybe not that big.
But a little smaller than that, I was thinking.
But like
base size.
Like I don't know, it just seemed super tiny. But mechanically, something that you pointed out is that the Twisted Allegiance, or the Demon Prince with a herald in his hair or whatever, he's on a smaller base than Demon Prince's.
If I'm looking at it right, I'm pretty sure mine came with either a 50 or a 60 millimeter. I'd have to double check. I think it comes with it came with a 50
because Demon Princes are on a 60,
60s.
like Space
Yeah.
Marine Dreadnoughts are.
Yeah, because it's smaller than a Dreadnought base for sure. I think it's a 50 mil.
So I'm pulling up their website right here to confirm.
Yeah, check.
It is 20 plastic components and includes one 50 millimeter round base.
Well, that's interesting.
So a Demon Prince that has an extra model modeled onto it is on a smaller base than the rest of the Demon Princes in the game.
Oh, it's Slanesh. He's more graceful, confined. He's on a diet. I don't know, but whatever. The model.
That's just interesting to me. That's all.
It is, yeah. The model's super cool. The rules are super cool.
Yeah, no, they definitely not taking any of that away.
Yeah.
Just, I guess maybe because it's like so very tall for a Demon Prince. Maybe they were kind of offsetting how hard it is to block line of sight to it by giving it a smaller base. I don't know.
Could be.
Maybe they were like, this is a trade-off.
Yeah. I don't know.
But anyway, that was just of interest to me when you pointed that out.
Yeah.
Like, this is a small base.
Yeah. I pulled that out and went, well, that's weird. I was expecting, because I wouldn't have noticed it even had I not just assembled and primed a Demon Prince 2 days prior.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
It was weird.
Anyway.
So Slanesh Demons.
Slanesh Demons. Yep. That's, hopefully by the time this goes live, I'll know how many points the Contorted Epitome actually costs in match play.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a slight oversight.
Yeah.
Unless they didn't intend it for
Match play.
40K. I know it's got 40K
Yeah, it's got
data sheets.
40K rules.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're
I
really
don't know.
good.
I don't know. Is it really good?
Ignore mortal wounds on a 2+.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You were telling me about
Yeah,
that.
it's awesome. 2 psychic powers. It's great. It's great. I love it.
Because you can't use it in match play. It's too good.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, ignoring mortal wounds on a 2-up that I'm now praising in a conversation where slightly earlier this episode I was like, invulnerable 2-up models.
Right.
Bad.
Right. Hey, ignoring mortal wounds on a 2-up is...
It's way different than a 2-up invulnerable save. That's
It's
for sure.
kind of precedented. There's at least a couple models that have either a warlord trait or an ability that lets them ignore perils on a 2+.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So,
Which is basically the same thing.
yeah, it's just, you're causing your own mortal wounds in that case.
Yeah. But that mortal wound makes you explode, kill other people. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So anyway, that's what you're working on.
Yeah.
You got your chaos going.
Yeah.
I've been a little distracted kind of going over all the models in the AdMech commission. So my Custodes project has, I'll use ground to a halt as how I describe that.
That seems fair.
But just getting in all of the models, inspecting them, and then cutting out foam and making them able to be transported and stored and stuff has kind of taken up a lot of my hobby time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But what I have decided to do is I've given the ones that were painted the dip and put them in some isopropyl alcohol. I've decided now that I'm not trying to just rush through painting gold armor fast because I want a painted army.
Right.
That I'm going to go back to the shield host that I wanted to do in the first place. And I'm going to go like model by model and make it like more fun and less of a completion based project, I guess.
Sure.
The whole reason we or why I chose Custodes for the new year, new army that we were talking about is I wanted to get them done quickly to remove the pressure of like, here I am, this like former commissioned painter who owns a hobby shop and, do all this stuff. And I don't have a painted army.
Right.
I wanted to knock something out fast.
Yeah.
Well, getting the AdMech commission back, and I'm really enjoying playing AdMech as an aside, but getting that commission back has done exactly what I was looking for. Like, I have a painted army now.
Good.
I know that, it wasn't my painting, but it's still like that, like specter over your shoulder of like, I'm a commission painter. Everybody knows I'm a commission painter and my army's gray.
Yeah. The pressure's just not as intense.
The pressure's, it feels different and it's good.
Yep.
And so now I want to actually like for realsies do my Custodes army.
And which host were you going to do now?
The Shadow Keepers.
Shadow Keepers. Okay.
Yes, the lore wise and the look of their armor, they're hands down my favorite host.
Nice.
And so I'm stripping actually as we speak. I'm stripping a good number of the Custodes, and I'm going to Stynal Res black them with an airbrush.
Nice.
Because I'm really going to hit their details hard for all the gold trim and everything.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to rattle can their primer layer.
That's fair. The Custodes models deserve
Yeah.
a lot of care on the details.
Yep.
So that's a good move, I think.
So what I'm probably going to do is in one day, I will Stynal Res black all of them, and then I'll airbrush the burgundy onto like their tabards and their shoulder pads.
Sure.
And then I'll sit down with a brush and just trim in all the gold, and then everything will be like 95% done at that point.
Nice.
So
I look forward to seeing the progress on that.
yeah, yep. And I may start with 3 shield captains on Dawn Eagle jet bikes for no reason whatsoever.
apparent reason. But I mean, kind of on that note, for any of you listeners out there, like if you've got armies that you've got done, or even just models that you want to showcase, like send them our way.
Oh, yeah.
The email address is in the description. You can post them on our Facebook page.
Absolutely.
Share them to our Instagram. You could even tweet them at us. I'm pretty sure all of that's in the description here. But if it's not, I'll make sure it's there.
Like, share, and subscribe.
But yeah, we'd love to see it. We'll throw it up in the background for part of a video with your name, or
absolutely
whatever you'd like us to put up there. So I always want to show off the community and the hobby and all the
for sure.
hard work people put in.
And what I would like to start doing is we talk about our hobby progress just so that you guys can kind of follow us in semi-real time. But what I would like to do is at the end of episodes when we're talking about our stuff, showcasing one submission as well.
That'd be great.
So, we'll talk about, Nate's army, we'll talk about my army, and then we'll talk about your army.
Yeah.
So, if you can get that stuff to us, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And if once we start getting pictures of our work up so that you can, see, the quality of stuff that we're turning out, we also would be happy to engage in a conversation with you. So if you're submitting your stuff and you're like, hey, give me some CNC on this, some compliments or some criticism, we would be happy to take a look at your stuff and go, this looks great. Maybe try Agrex instead of Reichland or whatever. We would love to engage in that conversation with you. And that starts with you throwing us some pictures and showing us what you're doing.
Yep. We both have very different painting styles.
Oh,
and very
absolutely.
different. We appreciate different things about painting styles. So it would be, I'd like to think, pretty well-rounded criticism and or
absolutely
compliments.
And I want to also temper that with, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
So if we get our pictures up and you're like, wow, that's cool, but your 9 metallic metal needs some work, or
Your OSL is awful.
Yeah. You let us know, because we're all on this wonderful comedic journey together.
Yeah. That was warm and fuzzy, and I think that's probably a good spot to wrap this up.
Oh yeah. What do you get? Do you get a little dodgy when I get all warm and fuzzy?
Yeah, a little bit. It's all right.
Make you uncomfortable?
Just a touch.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
Yeah. Let it be known. Let the record show that the Slaanesh player is uncomfortable by emotion. Or with emotions, with things. Maybe it's just me. Maybe this Slaanesh player is uncomfortable with me.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
I plead the fifth.
Could be the sultry eyes that I'm giving him across the table.
Oh dear. All right. On that note, I'm Nate.
I'm Luke.
Yep. And we will see you again in a couple of weeks.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Thanks
Come
everybody.
back.